Or Chris. Oh, my knee. Probably, you know her. Don't know if you know her, but her name is Falsita. She really was that famous, huh? Yeah. I guess. She said Tuesday or Thursday, why do you ask? She said she had things to do on the other days. Hey Torta, why was she asking these questions? As I was about to inquire, Torta cast her gaze downward as if in thought for a moment, then faced me again. Yeah, I guess so. I might still go practicing on my own though. However, for me that was generally a rare occurrence. Well, I see. So she wrote you about it as well. Where did that first wall come from? Yeah, she said she felt she was meddling. I suppose it wouldn't hurt. Today, huh? Okay, this is the part where I recorded shortly after this, but I chose practice. And then I realized, I think this starts Torta's path. So I'm gonna say no. Nah, I'll pass for today, because I don't want to go down your path. Sorry. Yeah, okay, thanks. And I'm sorry. I understood her intentions, but I hadn't quite sorted out my feelings yet. I wondered if I'd been able to refuse her more easily without Ari's encouragement. She told me not to think about her, but to put priority on what I wanted to do. Even so, the reason I was confused right now was because of what she wrote. Perhaps Ari would feel more at ease if I partnered with Torta. A person she knew well rather than a complete stranger. Okay. It didn't show in her behavior. Yeah, it did. And I was probably the only one who could tell, but there was a hint of sadness in her voice as she left the cafeteria. Perhaps I had to consider the matter a bit more optimistically than I was doing. It was too late now, though, so I thought I'd just invite her to practice next time. Well then, what shall I do now? That's Lisei's thing, so I'm just gonna go practice. I decided not to meet anyone today and simply practice on my own, so that when I did meet someone, I could put on an even better performance. That was sort of my reasoning. I should decide first whether to play some piece from start to finish, or just to practice tidbits here and there. Let's just do without playing tidbits. Tidbits it. Time to go home. It was getting late. After cleaning up the practice room, I went home. And new day starts. It'll be Tuesday, and I can go see Fall. Okay. I finished my lesson and lunch as usual. Well then, what shall I do now? Go see Fall. Sita. And she said, yeah, the end one. The end practice room, I believe. I headed toward the practice room at the far end of the long hallway. The location Fall and I had agreed on. Since I was dying to know about her voice and her musical orientation, I decided to go out and meet her on the first appointed day. Thinking back, I could count the number of times I had played together with people I had only just met on one hand. With a prick of nervousness in my chest, I peeked inside through the small window and spotted her, facing away from me. I wondered at first how to call out to her if she was singing, but she didn't appear to be. Instead, she was sitting facing the piano, seemingly reading a score. Due to the soundproof equipment, it was unlikely that she would notice that knock. Still, I casually struck the door before entering, just to be sure. Excuse me. I paused. Didn't mean to do that. She pulled back the piano bench and turned to look at me. Well, I didn't have any plans in particular. As I lowered my bag from my shoulder, wondering how to advance the conversation, Fall went straight to the point. Oh, cut you off, sorry. It might be the most efficient to perform our actual graduation pieces. Yes. Does the vocal department equally necessitate self-composure of pieces? Did that come out right? Not really. Is it that obvious? You are speaking that way like it is the most natural thing in the world, though. Huh? She said roguishly, striking home the fact that she was actually my age. Her conscientious choice of words never felt out of place at all. She'd probably been talking this way on a regular basis throughout her life. On the other hand, speaking like a regular girl seemed to come naturally to her too. You're right, then let's just talk normally. Okay. Having somehow arrived at a mutual agreement, we returned back on topic. For Fortelle. I was somewhat awestruck by her meticulous preparation. It was in sharp contrast with my own approach to music. Though, since she was the one who offered to play with me, I probably shouldn't worry too much about that right now. You're correct, or you're right. We had only just decided to be casual, yet I was fumbling with words again. I'd rarely ever spoken to girls besides Torta and Ari, and it showed. Fall open-heartedly reassured me. Although I hadn't decided whether to partner with her yet, I thought I should take the possibility into account and just talk to her casually. Nah, I'll talk normally, don't worry. Can I give my input on that? Up until now, I've been mindlessly drilling my current piece. It wasn't like I didn't put my heart into composing it, just that it wasn't a piece composed with a particular vocalist in mind. If I had to point out someone, it was probably Ari. Her singing was almost laughably bad, though, so I obviously hadn't pictured her singing it in my mind when I made it. No, it was a piece I composed while reminiscing about her whenever I read her letters. The piece I've composed might not suit you very well. I made it on the premise of a different person singing it, so the range might not match your voice, for instance. It was probably okay to lie about this. The piece likely wouldn't have met her standards. So how about going with yours? She went silent for a moment. Then she searchingly looked into my eyes and produced a smile. Okay. I was relieved she didn't press me for details. And then I came to the realization that I had completely forgotten to copy my score beforehand. Ah, I clicked the middle mouse. You already transcribed it. I'd completely forgotten about that.
そうなんだ。じゃあちょうどよかったかもね。
She said, taking out a score from her bag in the meantime.
はい。急いで写したから少し雑かもしれないけど。
It only took a quick glance over to see that she was just being modest. The notes and symbols were elegantly drawn, and terms were abbreviated, giving the impression she was experienced with score writing. It didn't look crude at all. On the contrary, I thought it looked really well. I thought it was really well done. You call this crude?
私にとってはね。それより曲はどう?
Fall inquired playfully. I imagined the melody and lowered myself on the bench in front of the Fortelle.
どうかな?
One sec. I traced my fingers along the keyboard while progressing through the score.
クリスさんって初見は得意?
Oh, I can do it, I suppose.
それじゃあ早速試してみる?
Anytime you're ready. Let's do it. Okay, let's try this out. Rain music. Musica. Oh my gosh. That was tough. Almost 7,000, that's not bad. My evaluation though was 1 star. I don't believe I can do better than that. I'm done. I'll practice that later. Nice job. Oh. Sorry, I messed up a bunch of times there. Yeah. Thanks, your singing was great though. Perhaps. Sorry, cut you off again.
何回か合わせてみる？
Good idea.
じゃあいくつか直した方がいい点とか言った方がいい？
Please do. It's probably fastest if the composer corrects me on these things.
じゃあとりあえず2ページ目なんだけど。
Her face was suddenly really close as she pointed at a certain point on the score sheet. She was at a range where I could practically feel her breath. Her eyes never actually went to where she was pointing at, but remained fixed on mine. Kinda creepy, but I'm okay with it.
あ、ごめんなさい。
It's okay.
とにかくここの部分で指がまだうまく動いていないみたいだったから。あ、でも最終的に完成度を高めれば問題はないから。
She awkwardly stepped away from me, acting calm and composed, yet her face turned a shade of red. It made my heart ache a little. Her facial expression was exactly like the one Arietta had shown me once. It wasn't like I'd grown to be that self-conscious. Just that false expression was enough for me to be strongly reminded of her. Right, if I focus on those points, I think I can work it out.
何にせよ、まだ最初だからね。
I changed the subject to avoid touching on what had just happened. Fall seemed relieved at this as well.
じゃあ次に気になったところいい？
Please do. She put a bit more distance between us compared to last time before continuing. The atmosphere was thankfully never returned to particularly awkward after that. We both turned back to our scores and resumed practicing. Today's practice session ended with us both letting out deep breaths. It'd been long since I'd performed with anyone other than Forney, and a piece other than my usual no less, which perhaps explained why I enjoyed myself so much. Although I couldn't look outside, a cursory glance at the clock on the wall told me it had pretty much become evening.
真剣に練習してるとやっぱり時間が経つのが早いね。
It was still a little while before the institute would close completely, but some instructor on duty might come around soon.